I have solved 541 problems on Leetcode, and this has completely transformed the way my brain builds logic to solve any coding problem in an interview. I went from someone who could not solve a simple rotate array problem in one full day to someone who solved 3 Leetcode medium problems within an interview of 45 minutes. And let me tell you, there is nothing special about me. All I have done is that I have went through 5 levels of Leetcode grinding. At each level, I solved 100 new Leetcode problems. Each of these levels taught me different things, and I made many mistakes along the way. In this video, I want to share how my thinking process changed, offers I managed to get, and mistakes I made at each level. In the end, I will also tell you if it was all worth it or not. Let's do this. The year is 2016 and I have good theoretical understanding of data structures and algorithms after doing the course Algorithms 1 by Princeton University. But I have no clue about how to apply my knowledge to an actual interview problem. I only know one programming language at this time, which is Java. Filled with a lot of curiosity, I started solving Leetcode problems. I spent hours solving even the easy problems. I would often find myself staring at the screen with my mind filled with frustration and self-doubt. It was a humbling experience to say the least. Java's syntax, which I had learned only recently, still felt confusing and unfamiliar. Most of the time, I would just look at the solution after spending hours on the problem. Instead of truly understanding the solution, I would try to memorize it, hoping that somehow that would magically improve my logic building. And this was my first mistake. Another mistake I made was that I did not have a clear structure to my preparation. It felt like I was stuck in a maze of data structures and algorithms with no roadmap to guide me. As a result, understanding the problem itself became a challenge as I struggled to make sense of requirements and constraints. What frustrated me even more was that when I gave the problems that I could not solve to my friends, they would come up with the solution in 15 minutes. This would make me feel dumb, and I often felt like giving up. But then I would remind myself how comparison is the enemy of progress. So I kept going and spent 3 months solving my first 100 problems, mostly easy ones. I did not feel confident enough to apply for jobs at this level and moved on to level 2. It's at level 2 where I could solve medium problems for the first time. These medium problems would often take me more than 60 minutes and I could not solve them consistently. But solving a medium problem every now and then gave me a lot of confidence. The main reason I could not solve the medium problems consistently was that I did not have a clear boundary between thinking about the solution and actually coding it up. Let me explain what I mean by this. When the beginners try to solve a problem, they are not actually thinking about the solution. What they are thinking about is how to code their solution, and there is a big difference between the two. I have already made a video on this. I will link the video in the end so that you can understand it better with the help of an example. Anyway, after solving some mediums, I felt confident enough to apply for jobs. As a first step, I would get these online assessments where I would usually be able to solve 2 out of 3 problems. I could not crack any full-time offers yet, but I did manage to get an internship at level 2. Towards the end of level 2, I met a friend who gave me this longest increasing subsequence problem. When I could not solve this problem, he pointed out how I was missing some important concepts like dynamic programming and graphs from my preparation. As a result, I knew what I had to do for level 3. It's here that I started solving more advanced problems on graphs and DP. I could easily solve mediums within the time constraint of 45 minutes. I was not only learning new concepts, I could spot the patterns and reuse them again and again on different questions. But there were still a few issues I had not managed to solve, and this cost me one of the biggest opportunities of my lifetime. Right around the time when I had solved about 230 problems, my resume got shortlisted for Google and I got an online assessment. I passed online assessment and phone screen, and as the next step, I was invited to Google campus in Mountain View for an on-site interview. The interview was not as hard as I expected, and I managed to solve most of the problems. But I still could not get the offer. That's because the quality of my code was extremely bad. Not focusing on the code quality was the third mistake I made. Bad code is a clear signal that you are a newbie and not ready to work on big code bases. Another mistake I made was that I never focused on debugging. If my code did not work as expected, I would start making random changes with the hope that it would magically start working. And this was an easy giveaway that I am not a seasoned programmer. Anyway, all these were still easier issues to solve when compared with this last issue. Whenever I encountered a new problem, I would try to look for a solution that I already knew and see if it works. And this made me fail many interviews. It was only at level 4 where I made a major change to the way I interviewed and managed to solve this problem. The major reason I was not able to think from the first principles and looked for similar problems in the past was because I was spending too much time coding in the interview. Here is what I thought an interview should look like: 5 minutes of meet and greet, maximum of 10 minutes of coming up with the solution, and 30 to 35 minutes coding. I needed 30 to 35 minutes of coding because I was using Java in my interviews, which is very verbose. And it's very easy to make syntax errors in Java, which can cost you a good amount of time in debugging. As a result, I was constantly under time pressure of coming up with solution really fast to have enough time for coding. But that changed when I started using Python in level 4. Switching to Python almost doubled my coding speed in interviews. That's because Python is not only less verbose, it's actually very intuitive to think in Python. Having solved more than 300 problems in Java already, I was initially a little worried about switching to Python. But Python is really easy to pick if you know any other programming language really well. Since I had less time pressure now, my code quality improved and I was less nervous when debugging my code. On top of this, there is one more thing that Python did for me. I was coming up with multiple solutions for the same problem. Let me show you an example. For this combination sum problem, I first came up with a backtracking solution. But since writing code in Python is so easy, I could quickly test my DP solution as well. In good old Java days, I would probably not test different solutions that came to my mind. But with Python, I don't even consider coding up the solution as an extra step for me. So it has allowed me to move really fast in my interviews as well as the preparation. I am probably overselling Python here, but it has been a game changer for me personally. Talking about the offers I got at level 4, I got an offer from Amazon here. I got this offer very early in level 4, before I switched to Python. Level 5 is the grand climax of everything that we have done so far. You start encountering the same problems that you have already done and you redo them here. When you look back at your old solutions, you laugh at them. And whenever you can laugh at yourself from the past, you know that you are doing great in life. You can solve Leetcode mediums in 15 to 20 minutes. Not only that, you can solve half of Leetcode hard problems within 45 minutes. And now, you feel invincible in coding interviews. The question is not whether you can solve the problem in the interview. It's how long it will take you to solve the first problem and how many subsequent problems you can solve in the same interview session. Last time I was looking for a job, I could solve all the problems in 35 or 40 interviews that I did, except for maybe one. The one I could not solve was an Apple phone screen, and I managed to get to the next round without completely solving the problem because it was a very hard problem. And I ended up getting an offer from Google, and that's where I work now. The goal of telling you all of this is not to flex or say that I am better than you. The point I am trying to make here is that everybody starts from zero and struggles in the beginning. If I could go back in time in 2016 when I was at level 1 and everyone around me was better than me at problem solving, I would advise myself not to compare with others and focus on my own journey. Because once you go through this journey, it brings you a great sense of freedom that no matter what the job market looks like, you will have the skills to get yourself hired again whenever you want. If you feel excited to start your own journey and want to know how to use Leetcode in the most effective way, watch this video. My name is Sahil and I'll see you in the next one.